I genuinely cannot remember the last time I witnessed such lazy writing in a movie before. Hello, my name is Joseph and welcome to the Chill Out Zone, and today we are going to be talking about He-Man. Like a lot of people, I have some knowledge of the Masters of the Universe series. Like, I've probably seen one or two of the animated episodes before, and of course I know of the phrase "I have the power" and all of that. However, I wasn't too interested in the movie when I heard that it was coming out. But that being said, I decided, you know what, let me give it a watch and, let me see this new universe once again. And I wasn't really impressed at all. Like, the main thing that I have to say is that the writing was dumb. Like, the characters are okay, the plot was generic, but that's completely fine. The thing that I disliked about this movie was the writing. The plot just did not make sense at all. It was very lazy. Obviously, the writers knew what they wanted to happen in the movie. However, it was clear to see that how everything happened was an afterthought. One of my biggest problems with the movie was literally how everything came to be. So you have Skeletor. He now comes to Eternia and he has literally captured Adam's father along with their whole family. Adam, the mother, the father, like everyone is captured, right? Skeletor had everyone literally dead to rights. And then what happens? The father literally turns in front of Skeletor and say, "Mother, child, escape. Like, you escape, don't worry, I'm gonna deal with this." And Skeletor does absolutely nothing about it. Like, what the actual heck? Bearing in mind, all of them were captured, but he literally let the mother and the child go for absolutely no reason. Don't worry, it gets worse. So at this point, we know that Skeletor wants the sword of power. So after he has dealt with the father, he literally goes into the other room where the sword is being held, and he sees Adam as a child and the king's mother there with the sword. And what does he do? He literally just says, "Give me the sword." There was no urgency at all. In fact, I believe that at this point, the portal was even open. So it was obvious, it was clear to see that they planned to escape with the sword, the one thing that he wanted. And what does he do? Absolutely nothing. In fact, he blasts the mother out of the way, but for some reason, he completely leaves the child with the sword. What? Then after the mother gets blasted, the sorceress that was also helping them finally realizes that, oh, actually, I can make a shield. So why didn't you do that before the queen got blasted? Like, what? Like, come on now. Like, the writing in this was just so bad. Like, it was clear to see that either Skeletor was not really motivated in his intentions, or the writers were just very lazy. Now, everything that happened in the beginning, right? So maybe I can find it in my heart to actually forgive what I just saw. But the thing is, it happens again at the end of the movie, literally at the climax of the movie. So once again, Skeletor has everything he wants. The sword is in his possession. He has to go back to the castle to put the sword in the stone to perform the ritual, and once that ritual is done, he will become essentially a god, which is what he wants. So the sword is there, and what happens? Adam once again comes crashing through the roof, right? Skeletor is right next to the sword, and he literally watches Adam take the sword out of his possession. Again, what does he do? Nothing. This guy is literally forced to become a bystander. Everything that he wants is literally taken away from him right in front of him, right under his eyes. And again, he does not seem to care about it. Like, the writing is just so bad. Skeletor literally could have achieved everything he wanted in the first 20 minutes of the movie, but because he wasn't zealous enough, because he wasn't motivated, he literally let his goals slip right past him on two separate occasions. And obviously it's not his fault, it's the writer's fault. With that being said, I was actually somewhat impressed with the visuals of this movie. Like, I really liked the feel of the film. I feel like the creators did a good job with paying homage to the original cartoons. And not only that, but there were actually a few shots towards the ending of the movie that I really liked. Like, so when He-Man had his motivation speech talking about how he had the power within him all along and all of that stuff, and then he essentially comes back to life and then he fights Skeletor, like, they did a few slow motion shots, and honestly, those shots were actually really good. Like, my jaw actually dropped. What I'm seeing is actually really good, and I do enjoy this. I don't know why they didn't utilize this throughout the movie. Like, visually, it was actually decent. I also liked when he first did the transformation, when he first said, "I have the power," and then he transformed into his He-Man costume. Like, I actually liked the visual effects of it. Like, it looked grand, it looked mystical, it looked divine, honestly. So I actually did really enjoy that. But throughout the rest of the movie, I would say the visuals were kind of okay. Like, it just peaked at a few times in the movie. The overall feel of the movie was good in terms of its visuals. However, the humor, for about 80-90% of it, it was kind of lost on me. If I had to describe the humor of this movie, I would say it was a bit worse than for Ragnarok, but it wasn't as bad as for Love and Thunder. Like, it was like in the middle of those two movies. With Thor Ragnarok and its reboot, I think they did it very well. They managed to balance the humor and the seriousness of this film perfectly. However, with He-Man, it was just lost on me, I'm not gonna lie. Like, there were certain times, again, especially in the climax, where, you know, the fighting, it was very much serious, and yet they used this time to tell cheap jokes. It was Skeletor that did most of the heavy lifting when it came to the humor. And again, at some points it did land, but when they were doing the flashbacks or the vision into his mind as he was essentially killing He-Man, I just feel like it kind of took me away from the movie. But for some reason they decided to add the humor, and yeah, I just wasn't really feeling it. They had humor from the beginning, the middle. I just feel like it would have been nice if they would have allowed the main fight to actually be serious. Like, it would have been nice to actually feel the gravity of the situation, even just for the last 10 to 15 minutes that the fight actually happened. Everywhere else you can have humor, but at that point I feel like it was a bit too much. He-Man was literally dying, if not dead, and you're still cracking jokes. I just don't understand. But again, it was weird because with the Skeletor character, it was definitely on brand for him to be doing that. Like, he's kind of like a Deadpool sort of villain. Like, he's not really breaking the fourth wall, but he's just unserious like 100% of the time. And it did kind of work at points, but just not all the time. So, do you need to watch this movie? Honestly, no. If you're not a He-Man fan, I honestly don't see any reason why you need to watch this movie. It was mid. I'm not gonna lie. I would give this movie about a 5.5 out of 10. In fact, no, I'll give it a 5 out of 10. It definitely wasn't worth my time. I'm not gonna lie. It's only because I just love going to the cinemas and I love films that I would give that movie the time of day. But yeah, no, I honestly couldn't recommend this movie to a casual cinema goer. Like, it is actually not worth your time, unfortunately. But yeah, that's all I have for today. If you have watched the movie, let me know what you think. Let me know what you would rank it. Let me know your thoughts on the movie. Also, make sure you check out some of my other videos. And yeah, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Peace out.